What's up, people? Uh, we're back. I know I didn't, do my video yesterday. I was just like very tired yesterday. I just needed like a day to recuperate. Because the past, before yesterday, the past 2 days, I've been running around doing all these things. So I was just like, I needed a break. So we're back. I'm feeling rejuvenated, man. And we've got soccer, man. We got soccer. I'm not gonna go through every last game, right? But I'm just gonna talk about my general thoughts of it all. Now, I'm very familiar with the world of soccer. I've your boy even played it a little bit back in his middle school days. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have, hey, look, if I really, put my mind to it, you know what I mean? I could have, you know what I mean? I could have been, you know what I mean? I could have been a young prodigy. No, I'm playing. I was never that good. But there was this kid in our school that just seemed to be good at every sport he played. His name was Jake. He just seemed to be great at everything, But that's neither here nor there. But very excited for the World Cup. We've gone through almost. We're still in the group stages right now, but I will say there has been I thought so. I've seen on TikTok, right? If you're on TikTok, if you're on soccer TikTok, you know about the term haram ball, right? Which is basically just like you score or whatever, and basically you just gather all your players and just stop the other team from scoring, pretty much. Um, and I thought it was a joke. I full on thought it was a joke, but apparently this is haram ball is pretty serious. And I am surprised by how much it's how serious it is, because I've seen a lot of teams just pretty much park the bus, and that's the term that people will use in terms of rumble. They pretty much park the bus, and I was surprised by how many teams actually employed this strategy. I see a lot of people. I've seen a lot of teams on the counter attack than I would see on the attack, and it's like, okay, I'm so used to being sports being high paced, energetic, on the attack, always on the go. So for me to watch soccer or football, as you will, to see it be like a complete 180 of sports that I typically watch here in America. It was a bit different, but it was honestly pretty cool. It was honestly like pretty funny to see how many teams employed this strategy, but in different ways. And some teams were, but that's here, here, or there. But I will say, I did see a whole lot of, a whole lot of, I did see a whole lot of ties. And now I know soccer, like it's a very defensive game, so I knew that was, the possibility. But I had never really watched, a soccer game. And the last time I actually watched a soccer game was the last World Cup in 2022. That's the last time I actually watched soccer, and that was when Messi beat France and Mbappe in extra time. The three goals by Mbappe, back and forth. That was the last time I actually watched this. I forgot how different it was to the football that I know. But I saw a whole lot of ties, but I also saw a lot of blowouts. Like we just had Canada win 6-0. We had we had Sweden win 5-1. We had Germany win 7-1. We had USA win 4-1. Like these are just some of the games. Like Norway won 4-1. That's not really a blowout, but a lot of these games, teams will win by like 2 to 3 to up to the 4 goals, 6 goals at the most, you know. So I did see a lot of that, but I also did see a lot of, a lot of, like I said, a lot of ties. So it's kind of like it's like you never know if you're gonna get a tie or a blowout. I think soccer, out of all the sports that I've seen people gamble on, I think soccer is like one of the easiest sports to gamble on, because like it's either you're betting for the tie or you're betting for a win, either one, you know. So, but I know, and I understand that, as it's in the group stages, and we don't have like, hey, one, like, team, we don't have, we're not at the stages where we're at, like, if we go over to overtime, we win the free kicks and all that, the penalty kick stuff, right? I understand that, right? I understand that. But my one thing with soccer, my one anger about soccer is the fact that we have a whole lot of ties. And, like I said, in basketball, in football, in hockey, in baseball, in softball, we have extra innings, we have overtime, we have extra periods to stop these ties from happening. Now, do these ties still happen in the world of football? Yes, absolutely. But that's the point of overtime, is to allow ties to not happen. That's the one thing that I don't like about soccer. I like a lot of things about soccer, right? But the one thing I don't like about soccer is the fact that there's ties. And then, like I said, I understand that we're in the group stages and ties are going to happen in the group stages. But I just don't like it. It doesn't feel satisfactory to me as a consumer of this sport, because I don't like it when a game ends in a tie, especially when I know one team is significantly better than the other. I want to see a winner. I want to see if this was I understand that's the point of extra time, in the first half and in the second half, but I want to see like an extra, like, 45 minutes or something like that. Just whoever scores. Whoever scores first wins the game. I want to see something like that, but I understand it's in the group stages, so I'll keep it. I'll bury it down, and I'm gonna move on. But that's like my only gripe. Gripe against soccer. I don't have outside of that, I don't have any real ill will towards it. I really love this sport, and I've had an amazing time. I knew we had a men's national team, but like, oh, American, we have a soccer team. Yeah, I know. I knew we already did. Our men's national team ain't that good. I understand. The only person I really know on that is Christian Pulisic, the white dude. But that's about it. Yeah. Moving on though, we got Fever in the Chicago Sky. So this was so the Fever Sky was at first, the Fever had a double-digit lead on the second half. They would hold that double-digit lead for the most of the second, but then the Sky would come back, keep it close, 46-40 at halftime, right? So close throughout the whole quarter, back and forth. Sky go up in the fourth though, but the Sky weren't able to close it out, and the game would go into overtime, tied at 98. In overtime, though, the Fever would eventually take the lead, and they would win the game. Mariners, now we have baseball. It's a little switch up. We got Mariners versus Orioles, right? So, the Mariners had a leadoff homer, like not first pitch of the game, right? But first batter of the game, boom, cranked that soldier, what me, you know what I'm saying? That was cringy. Leadoff batter cranks it, right? Straight, boom, talking, right? 1-0. And then in the third, right? In the third, bro, the Orioles went crazy. I'm talking about 6 runs in the third. And then in the going heading into the fifth, in the fourth inning, the Mariners would score 4 runs to make it 6-5. The Mariners wouldn't score again. The Orioles would tack on another run in the sixth inning to bring it to 7-5. Then we have, I think this is the last. This is the last hockey. Yeah, no, this is the last hockey game of the year for me. We have Hurricanes versus Golden Knights, and no, the second last. All right, so the Hurricanes win 4-2. Like the Hurricanes scored two in the two in the second, and then one they both tied at 1 at the end of the first period. Hurricanes would score 2 in the second period. Golden Knights would tack on another one, and then the Hurricanes would also tack on another one to win 4-2. Right? Now we have Wings and Mercury. Mercury. Okay, no. Okay. So the Wings pretty much had a comfortable lead pretty much the whole game. From when I started watching, the Wings went up at half 45-36. They would extend their lead. They would go up. Going into the fourth, up 70-52. The Mercury were able to eventually cut it down to 10, but by that point it was already too little, too late, and the Wings would win 85-70. Right. Then we have the last game between the Hurricanes versus Golden Knights, and it wasn't like a blowout, but it was a really dominant win by the Hurricanes, winning 3-0. The Hurricanes would score 1 in the second and then 2 in the third. Then we have a couple more games. We've got Liberty versus Sky, where it was a very close game to like the whole way. The Sky would lead 32-27 at the end of the first. The Liberty would then take the lead in the second and go up at half, 47-45. Both teams would kind of like battle it out. Very close game by both teams. The Sky's rookie, she's an undrafted rookie. I forgot her name, but she played phenomenal. She had like a really crazy late clutch bucket that brought the Sky up 1, and then I think it was Brianna Stewart brought them and scored right back, and they barely squeaked out with the win. I think it was a foul though. Brianna Stewart did foul her, but they didn't call it. But it was a phenomenal game though. I really enjoyed it. Then we have Aces and Mercury. This is I think I've seen this a lot of times where the Mercury don't play bad. It's just that they don't come away with the win, because like they're not a bad team. Don't get me wrong, they're not a bad team. It's just that like in the fourth quarter, it just seems to me like they just fall apart in the fourth. And that may not be entirely true, but it's all I can remember seeing is just like, you have the lead or you're close, and it's like, yeah, in the Mercury in the Liberty game like a couple of weeks ago, they kept it close in the fourth quarter, couldn't close it out, couldn't win the game, so. And I'm not saying this, and I'm saying this all the time, but it's just like in the games that I've seen in the Mercury, there's been 2 times already that they've done that. So that's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, like I said, I don't think they're a bad team whatsoever. It's just that they can't close it out in the fourth quarter. I think that's exactly what happened today. Not today, but in that game against the Aces, they went into the fourth down 4. but they just weren't able to close it out. They weren't able to get the win. The Aces would pull away slightly and end up winning 86-76. Now, we've got even more softball. I mean, not soccer, softball. We've got I don't know what the league is called, right? But it's Utah versus Texas. This is the first time I've ever heard of this. But I think it's just like I don't even know what the league is called, right? But it's like taking like college kids and like put them in like I don't even know. But it's just softball league, right? And I just started watching it today. No, yesterday, technically. The game came on yesterday for softball. And it's Utah versus Texas. And then we had Oklahoma versus Portland, right? Utah versus Texas. Pretty close game the whole way through. Utah, though, were up 2-1 going to the third, and then they scored 2 runs in the fourth, and that would ultimately bring them the lead, give them the win, winning 4-3 against Texas. I'm not sure, like, I'm not even sure, like, how this came about. Like, I didn't hear it. I've never heard a peep about it. I've never heard people talk about it. So I was like, was just scrolling on, like, okay, what are the other games are on? Because, like, as I'm watching soccer, you know, I want to keep myself not entertained. I want to say entertained. But, you know, like keep my eyes on watch while, you know, after the game is on. If the game is on a hydration break or on halftime, and I came across that, I was like, oh, this is cool, you know. Then we have the Dream versus Fever. The Dream first half was really close, very close all the way back and forth kind of deal. The Dream going up 58-49 at half. In the third quarter, the Dream would like take a 10-point lead at various points in the game, but they were never able to actually sustain the lead. And the Fever would keep it within single digits, going down into the fourth, 18-79. Right, the fourth quarter is where everything started happening. You know, the Dream, they still had their lead, but the Fever started chipping down to it. They started chipping in, and it even tied the game late in the fourth. But they weren't able to actually take the lead. The Dream would take the lead right back, end up winning the game 108-101. This is what I tell you. I keep repeating this over and over again. This is why you should be scared when a team is within striking range when it's in the fourth quarter, because you never know what could happen. You see, the Fever, they caught fire in the fourth. They were able to tie the game. Now, luckily, the Dream were able to actually close the game out, but you never know what might happen. So yeah, then we have Portland versus Oklahoma. This is not really it was really like a defensive kind of game. Portland did win 3-0, but you know both offenses were kind of stagnant through the most part. 2 out of the 3 runs came in the second, and then Portland didn't score again to the bottom of the fifth. So that was that. Very excited to talk more about soccer. I really can't wait till we get to the knockout round. That's when things start getting real juicy and everything. So I'm very excited for that. I love this. I'm having so much fun with the World Cup. You know, I'm actually gonna try to catch as many games as I possibly can. You know, time willing. So until then, my name is Chase Goins. This is You Know Ball, and peace.